All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of NASCAR 06 Total Team Control on the channel. Here tonight as we have some road course racing on the NASCAR Busch Series custom schedule season for you guys this evening. And we will be running, of course, as Kyle Busch for this season because you guys, the fans, voted for me to drive as him through various community tab polls and posts throughout the course of the, leading up before the start of the season. So hit that like button, subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. We're about to get into tonight's race at the Old Spice Speedway for the running of the Ice Shanty 300. 200 laps around a road course today in the Busch Series. Going to be one of the longest, if not the longest, Busch Series races of the season. It's not going to be overly long necessarily. It's going to be about the length of a Cup race, but it's just going to be a Busch race. So that's pretty much about the only difference. So if you're used to the Busch Series races being about half the distance of the Cup race, this is not the case. It's about the same distance of a Cup race. So we'll see how this is going to end up going. Qualified 4th place right before the start of the stream. So a pretty good starting spot. Kyle Busch coming off a 5th place finish at Daytona last night. And he has won 3 of the last 5 races coming into today's race. And, of course, has still only finished outside the top 10 just once this season. So trying to keep the hot streak alive to kickstart this campaign. Green flag is in the air. Aaron Crocker on the pole. She'll lead the field to the green. We're underway at Old Spice Speedway on a Saturday night. Busch quickly from the outside lane gets to the bottom, and he's on the inside of the 19 car of Bobby Labonte. Side by side for 3rd place. Entering towards turn 3. Busch locking those tires up just a little bit as he squeaks to the inside of the 22 of Kenny Wallace. Was able to clear the 19 car. And Kenny Wallace looks to be clear of Kyle Busch up off the exit of turn number 7, heading into turn 8. And up to 2nd after the opening lap, Aaron Crocker will lead the first lap of the race tonight. Peanut 1, Wade Solinsky and others, welcome into the stream. Busch to the outside of Crocker, heading towards turn number 3. A little bit of contact. And that slowed Kyle Busch down. He did crowd Crocker a little bit on the inside lane. Didn't give her a lot of room to make the corner. And that's why there was contact there. So that was on Busch. First time he had been on the outside of a car in a corner. Especially one of those tight hairpin corners. 2 laps into this, though, Aaron Crocker hanging on to that track position, the clean air advantage. Front of the field. Another Busch Series doubleheader tomorrow afternoon on the channel. A little bit of a bump to Crocker that time. Busch is going to be on the outside. Crocker gives the bump back. Busch able to hang on to 2nd right in front of Kenny Wallace. Crocker not taking any of it. Busch going towards the outside. Kenny Wallace just overshot the corner. And he sandwiched Kyle Busch into Crocker. And that actually allowed Bobby Labonte to get to 2nd place. That was all Kenny Wallace that time. Kenny driving it in deep. He's going to get by Kyle Busch. Busch goes wide on the outside in turn 1. And now has to block Clint Boyer. There's some damage on the right rear corner panel of that 5 car. It's all crinkled up after Kenny Wallace got into him. Busch feels he's got a fast car. Big block by Bobby Labonte. Busch is sideways, hangs on to the race car. Great job keeping it off the wall. A few cars going to get by him. I don't know how he kept that thing from wrecking or getting clobbered by another car. Great job by those other 3 cars that passed Kyle Busch there to actually pass him. Rough start for Kyle Busch through 4 laps. He's lost 3 spots now from the start of the race. Kind of similar to Daytona last night where I was losing spots at the beginning and then kind of gained them back and then lost them all at the end again. Hopefully we don't lose them at the end today. Taking advantage of that apron in the only corner we really can, and that's going to be down in turn 3. Busch side drafting Shane Meal. He was able to clear the 2 of Boyer. Busch going to be looking to the inside of Meal into turn number 8. Just gets underneath him. Pass is made. Fastest lap for Busch today in the early going. Crocker still out in front with Bobby Labonte in second. Looks like... Okay, I was going to say, I thought Kenny Wallace was a rival there for a second. I was like, wait a minute, he hit me. Why is he upset? Should be a 3-stop race today, if I remember correctly, from our previous Busch Series races at Old Spice Speedway on our custom schedule season. Trying to get a run on the 22. Busch looking low. Kenny Walsh drove it in really deep, though, as he closes in on Bobby Labonte. And he's got a big run off the exit of the corner as well. Side by side now. All clear. Good pass by Kenny Wallace through turns 1 and 2 as he gets through the S's to get by Bobby Labonte for second. Kyle Busch takes the dive now, slides through her tires just a little bit, but clears Labonte for third. Mark DeMars, welcome into the stream. Oh, man. Backing the gas way too soon there, almost sent it up in the wall. Patrick Shadley, thanks for tuning in also. Needed dominant W. Oh, we've had, I guess I've dominated a couple races in the Busch Series. 2 of my 6 wins I led the most laps in. Surprisingly, though, that's it. Of the races I have won, only led the most laps in 2. Busch did get by Kenny Wallace for position. Having a tough time trying to get by Aaron Crocker, though. Crocker got a little loose. Turn 7, Busch on the outside in 8. Oh, a big bump to Aaron Crocker. Into the lead. We'll bump and run to take the lead. 5 bonus points for Busch leading his first lap of the day. Trying to block Crocker down on the inside, heading towards turn 1. Crocker going to go wide, off into the grass. And now she's going wide again in turn 2, but not off into the grass that time around. Busch was trying to mirror drive with the 6 behind. Hopefully that damage on the right rear from Kenny Wallace isn't going to affect the car too much. It hasn't really affected it in the handling side of things so far, at least through 9 laps on these tires. We'll have to monitor that right rear tire as the course of this first fuel stint of the race carries on. I can guarantee this will not be a caution-free race today. I'm guaranteeing it right now. Again, this is about the length of a cup race, and usually on these road courses, especially at the fantasy tracks, when they're longer in laps, we tend to see more yellows. Although this is a fantasy road course that we are more familiar with based off the Busch and Truck Series seasons in the past in NASCAR 06 in our first season in all 3 series. So maybe there won't be quite as many yellows as some of the other fantasy road courses, but I can guarantee that we will have at least a few. I'm guaranteeing at least 3 cautions today. I think Kyle Busch has a really fast car. It was just hard to pass the leader there those first little over half a dozen laps. And now Busch is slowly pulling away. We didn't do any of the alternating camera angles yesterday at Daytona, so we will have quite a few to get through today, but we have 200 laps to do it, so should be able to. And the usual 2 field passes. We'll actually take that first field pass at the start-finish line this time by. We'll see where the 57 of Brian Vickers is in the early going. We'll run 2 laps with him. Busch out to a 1.2 second lead now as we'll go back to Vickers. And he started a little deeper in the field as he is currently in the 14th place position. Powering off of turn 8, trying to close in on the car in front of him. So 2 laps with Vickers and we'll go back to Busch. Vickers second in points, but 441 behind his teammate Kyle Busch, who leads the standings. Vickers squawks the tires a little bit down into turn 3, unable to make the pass for 13th. Nice run, though, through those next couple corners. And he will be looking low, locking those tires up, and making the pass for 13th place. Go one more lap with Vickers. He's got a big run on the car in front of him. A little bump off the exit of turn 2, and a pass down on the apron in 3. And up to 12th. Size, welcome into the stream. Matthew Dorta Bruno, thanks for tuning in also. Back to Kyle Busch we go. Vickers just ran his fastest lap of the day, that last lap as well. Busch is pulled away for the meantime, out to a 1.9 second lead. I think he definitely has the quickest car in the field. Just didn't qualify on the pole, qualified 4th, so pretty good. Allowed for Aaron Crocker to lead about the first 7 or 8 laps of the race before Busch took the lead. I may have dropped the F-bomb last night. I noticed there was I didn't realize in the chat at the time, but sorry if I upset anybody with it. I do tend to think that this is a at least, you know, family-oriented, family-friendly channel, not oriented. this YouTube channel is not oriented around my family, but, you know, try to keep it, you know, friendly at least for younger viewers out there. I did say the F word. It slips out from time to time. I mean, we're all, I mean, what adult hasn't, you know, cussed by accident in their lifetime? You know, it happens. You don't hear it from me too often, I'll tell you that much. It was just, I mean, everything was just spiraling out of control yesterday, and it slipped out in those closing laps. It's like, how much more stupid could this get? And then Michael Jourdain Jr. running barely minimum speed, if that, decided to block us into the wall and wreck us at Daytona. 5 laps to go while we were trying to hang on to a top 10 at that point. Still finished 5th, thankfully. I don't know how the car wasn't more wrecked. That was after coming back from 23rd, though. We put up a fight there at the end. Standing on ice while playing your guitar in the park. You in a circus? I don't know why that was the first thing that popped in my head. I don't think I've ever heard of anybody playing the guitar in a circus. I was just saying that because it sounds like something you'd see on like America's Got Talent or something. Ice skating while playing guitar. Sounds like a talent to me. I can't do either or, let alone both together. That would tie my brain into a pretzel. Wheel spin there off the exit of turn 3. Power's on. Where's the apron guy? Well, he is, let's just say he is no longer here. In the chat, at least. True Assassin 86X, thanks for tuning in. Oh, so you were just standing, you just so happened to be standing on like a patch of ice. That makes a lot more sense. I mean, I obviously knew you weren't at like an ice rink while playing guitar. Or, I mean, I was assuming that wasn't the case. I just felt like running a joke off of it. We got a long race ahead of ourselves tonight, so I wanted to start things off here in a relaxed state. I may or may not have removed him last night. No, I did. I mean, I'm fine. Like, people say, you know, what they will about me. I'm not saying everybody has to like me, whatever. But, you know, in a stream where we only have, like, 10 people in the chat, and you have one person that's on, like, 2 different accounts, you're just trying to blast me about stuff that happened 3 days prior to that for 3 consecutive nights. It gets old pretty quick. And I mean, even, like, if it's, like, a cheap shot here and there, it doesn't, like, bother me. The one thing that bothered me about it was just the fact I feel like it ruins the experience for you guys in the chat. Because, I mean, you don't want to see that. At least I'd imagine you don't want to see that. I ignored it for most of the time. I'd bring it up every now and then, which I shouldn't have, but it was there too the entire time, so. I mean, we asked him to stop. It wasn't like I didn't give him any chances to stop. Well, it's just like with the Daytona race when we were watching the Throwback Thursday stream. I should have removed him then because he kept spoiling the events, but he would do it in like a subtle way, like, oh, isn't this the race where such and such happened? It's like, dude, we know what you're doing. You know, I tried to ignore it, and I was trying to, you know, at least remove those messages, but I don't, what mind boggles me, and it's not just, there's a lot of people that troll on the internet. How do you have time in your day to, yeah, I mean, these are, like, I stream every day, so for 3 consecutive nights, this guy had 10, not 10, he had, like, an hour and a half to 2 hours of his day that he felt like just going on the internet and, like, spoiling, you know, the race, for instance, on Thursday night. Like, that was a near 3-hour stream. Like, why, how do people do that for that long of time? Like, it was from start to finish from when he came in. It was crazy. It's crazy. I certainly don't have that kind of time. I mean, the extra time I do have on my hands, that's why you're seeing me stream on a nightly basis. This is my extra time. Talk some racing, enjoy some stuff. Yes, he would. Honestly, it was probably a kid. I would have to imagine it was a kid. I don't think it was a grown adult. I would like to think it wasn't a grown adult that was doing that. I mean, there probably are some out there that do that, but some of the words he was using, it seemed like he was 10, honestly. You know, I feel bad at the same time that it was probably a kid that we banned from the channel, but at the same time, though, too, like, You got to have the same. It doesn't matter whether you're 10 or you're 60. You can't just be trolling from start to finish for 4 consecutive streams in a row. Like, it gets old. It gets old fast. Yeah, be careful. I don't know who you are. I don't know who that person was. I noticed it was 2 accounts, but he had the same last name in both accounts. So it wasn't even like Sly. So I banned him the first time, and then he came back in with the second account with the same last name. I was like, they obviously know it's you. Five-year-old adult, probably. Oh my gosh, I don't know how I kept that off the guardrail. Darnell Cornell, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully I said your name correctly. Why are there so few Ford teams in trucking? I don't know. I've wondered that too over the last few years. I noticed it even before Penske went away. Penske and Roush dropped out. There weren't that many. So then when they lost like 2 more, it became, I think, more noticeable for sure. I mean, SHR, Riley Herbst is running full-time Xfinity again next year, correct? I could be wrong on that. Maybe he didn't resign. I'm assuming he is, though. So that would mean that him and Cole Custer will be there. So there will be 1 more Ford team than what there was last year. But yeah, that definitely, I think that's going to hurt Ford in the long run. I mean, obviously a lot of the drivers in the Cup Series that do drive for Ford are younger. Or at least are drivers that are going to stick around for a while. The only ones on the brink of retirement would be Harvick and Almirola, and they have, you know, Ryan Preece filling in for Custer this year. But I would imagine Custer's going to end up coming back when Almirola retires, or Harvick. You know, one of those two he's going to come back into SHR for, I'd have to imagine. And maybe they just sign another veteran, you know. I mean, they do have Riley Herbst in the pipeline. I would imagine when you have a guy in your Xfinity Series pipeline for, you know, at least 3 years, you'd have to imagine they're going to want to move him up eventually. They're just waiting to see, you know, when his potential is going to be. Yeah, this is a 200-lap road course race. This is a long one today. I mean, we've had longer road course races and laps on the Cup Series, but this is a road course that takes a little bit to get around time-wise. Honestly, this race won't be any longer than, say, a Cup Series regular race. Our Cup Series race at Old Spice Speedway, though, that's going to be, like, that might be a 5-hour race. It's supposed to be 333 laps on a 1.5-mile road course. Like, a 1.5-mile track would take 3 to 3.5 hours on an oval, and that's when you're running like 29 to 30-second lap times. Not like 47, 48. Might be a little bit quicker, might be in the 46, 47s, but still, it's going to be a long race. That one's going to be very tough to make it to the end just because of how long it's going to be. It's definitely going to be the longest race of the season. And we still have a few weeks until we get to there for the Cup side. We're playing catch up in the Busch Series, and we'll have some more truck races over the next couple weeks as well. We start to get towards the end of our NASCAR 6 custom schedule seasons. This is on Legend difficulty. We're just... that's why it's so shocking that I'm tearing apart the field in the Busch Series. I think a lot of it is the equipment, because the EA Sports games, it goes off like a grading scale. So I wouldn't doubt that, like, Kyle Busch, for instance, in this game, in the Busch Series, is like an A+ driver on, you know, most of these different configurations. That's probably why I'm as fast as I am. running as Kyle Busch on a week-to-week basis. It's because we have the equipment. But we're taking advantage of it. Like I said, we've only finished outside the top 10 once this entire season. And that one race we finished outside the top 10 was a 50% race at Auto Club. So, I mean, it wasn't even a 100% race that we didn't finish in the top 10 in. And obviously, off to a strong start today. And build that points lead out as much as we possibly can, because you just never know. We're only halfway through the season. Still have a couple more super speedways left. Luckily survived for a 5th place finish last night at Daytona. We have one more Daytona race yet. Season finale at Talladega, if we do get there. If we do clinch the championship early, I will not finish the season off. Which at this rate, more than likely that will happen. But again, we never know. Halfway out of fuel at this point in the run. We're at lap 32, so go a little bit past 60 laps on a full tank. Lap traffic for Kyle Busch at this point. We are in the lead, though, also. Saw somebody ask that earlier. Leaderboard's at the top left-hand corner of the screen. Right above the lap counter. Right below our scrolling point standings at the top of the screen as well. I know second place has slowly closed that gap because it was about a 2.8 to 2.9 second lead. And I think Aaron Crocker just managing her tires a little bit better than Kyle Busch. And again, a lot of the dominance too, not only, you know, we're driving as Kyle Busch in the Busch Series, but also, you look at the Cup side of things, and I'm 4th in points there, 200 out of 1st nearly. Actually, I think I am exactly 200 points out of 1st, with just 7 races to go, so we're getting down to crunch time, and I'm over a race worth of points out of 1st. Season-long points format there. It's just, with the Cup races, they're twice as long as most of the Busch races. Not in this race necessarily. There are some longer Busch races. But for the most part, the races aren't as long. So it's a lot harder for me to run consistently towards the front of the field and get a better finish on a more consistent basis. My average finish in the Busch Series coming into tonight's race, 3.5, 3.5. And then I think my Cup Series average finish is like a 13.7 or a 13.9, which is still pretty good, but you know, obviously not quite at the championship caliber, which is why we're not leading the points right now. So we're going to have to go on a hot streak at the end of the year if we're going to want to win that championship. And even the Truck Series, I think I have the points lead, but it's very slim. And those are shorter races too, so it's just, we've had a lot of luck on our side in these Busch races this season. Combination of speed, luck, and just smart racing. I mean, I haven't really gotten into many accidents. I'd probably say I've gotten in the least amount of accidents in the Busch Series than the Cup or the Truck so far this season, and it's showing with our race results. See the damage on the right rear in this one, but that was not Busch's fault. Kenny Wallace overdrove that 8th turn coming back to the start-finish line like lap 2 or 3. Slammed into the back of Kyle. Third place, it was Kenny Wallace earlier. I'm not sure exactly who it is now. I'd imagine it may still be Kenny Wallace. We're starting to grow that lead back out again. Cocker found a little bit of pace in the middle of the run and then faded not too long afterwards. Oh my gosh. A little too hot into turn 1. Big time power slide from Busch. I mean, it could be Boyer. Boyer was in 5th earlier. So it could be him. He's moved up a couple more spots. Kenny Wallace is in 2nd. Or, I mean, Aaron Crocker's in 2nd, sorry. I think Kenny's in 3rd. It's definitely a yellow car. It's got to be Kenny Wallace because he was up there in the beginning. Ooh. Busch catching the grass, and that almost turned him around off of turn 2. There's definitely a lack of grip the second half of this run. May need to try to tighten it up a skosh. The only thing is, with it being a road course, I'm not sure exactly how the wedge will work. Because if we end up moving the wedge down, I think it's going to actually loosen me up more in the right-handed corners, but the left-handed corners... Or I should say, it'll tighten me up in the right-handed corners, but the left-handed corners will be even looser. Really, just turns 2 and 3 are about the only times Kyle Busch is getting remotely loose. The only thing I've heard rumor-wise was just I saw a video that Real Radman posted about it. I didn't even watch it. I just saw the thumbnail, and that was about it. I had seen that, and that's it. I don't know anything about the game or, you know, how real the rumors are. I say rumors are rumors until, you know, set in stone. Take it with a grain of salt. Like, okay, it could happen, but don't want to really start believing into it until we know all the facts. NASCAR Heat 5 is definitely better than Ignition. It's not even close. Busch still has not caught any lap traffic. We're going to take our second and final field pass of the day once Busch does get into lap traffic for that first time. Ethan, welcome into the stream. He's doubling down on his ignition take as well. Oh gosh. Big mistake there for Busch. Cost him a few tenths of a second of his lead. Almost a quarter of the way through this race already. Honestly, should have just added a little bit more downforce into the car, and I think I would have been alright. Problem is, I can't do that mid-race. So I don't really know what I can do adjustment-wise. I can drop the air pressure more, but I think the air pressure is already about as low as I want. It's at 21 PSI. The default at this track wanted me at 25, so I don't really want to drop it too much more. Then we run the risk of it really bogging us down on that long straightaway and pretty much all the heavy on throttle portions of the racetrack. Like this one between turn 7 and 8 as well. But especially between turn 8 and 1 on that main straightaway across the bridge. By far the longest straightaway on the racetrack. And we're on it right now. Yeah, especially with iRacing taking over the World of Outlaws series game. I've heard nothing but great things about it. Still haven't played it. I need to play that. Stinks I didn't hop on it right away. I was in Phoenix when it came out, so I didn't really have a chance to play it or in advance have time to play it and upload anything, so I just haven't gotten around to it because of that. It's just it was the worst week for that to happen. Either that or the week of the Daytona 500 would have been the only 2 weeks that would have happened where the game would have came out and I couldn't have really done anything upload wise as a result. Kyle Busch has lapped his first car of the race. We'll contact with the 103. With the 5 and the 103 still side by side. Busch will have the positioning down low. Locks those tires up just a bit. Should be able to get around him though, and he does. Longest but not the fastest, yeah. It's really easy to build that speed up through turns 5 and 6. Well, 5, 6, and then off the exit of 7 especially, because that's the heaviest bank corner on the track. I think that's a large reason why. Tires are definitely wearing out, though, on Kyle Busch's number 5. This point in the run. We will go to Brian Vickers in the 57 car for 2 laps. See if he got inside the top 10 yet. Not quite. Vickers is in 11th place. It's our second and final field pass. Yeah, Michael also stating it's a great game. I haven't actually watched any gameplay of the game yet because I really want it to be a surprise to me personally. But from things I've read, it's pretty good. And even just some of you guys in the chat that have played the game or wanted to know if I was playing the game have mentioned it also. Big closing rate into turn 8 for Vickers to get to the inside of the 18 of J.J. Yaley. Drag race heading towards turn 1 right now. Vickers side drafted Yaley all the way down that straightaway. Pulled off him in time to make the move into turn 1. And Brian Vickers is inside the top 10 for the first time today. And he'll make another pass for 9th place as well in turn 3. And Vickers definitely feels as if he's got quite a bit of speed middle of the run. He's definitely conserved his tires better than the 5 of Kyle Busch at the front of the field. We'll go one more lap with Vickers, and then we'll go to Kyle Busch at lap 50 for the rest of the race. Vickers locking the tires up. Still closed on the 21 of Miller. 46.447 that last lap for Brian Vickers. A wicked fast one at that. Continues to close on the 21 of Miller. Looks to the outside. Squawked the tires there just a little bit again and disallowed him to get by the 21. Might still have one more shot at him in turn number 8. Again, this is a battle for 8th place. Busch Series regular and a Cup Series regular battling. Oh gosh, clip the grass. That's not going to help. Hooker slides. Lost a lot of ground that time, and we'll go back to Kyle Busch for the rest of this race. He's just getting into turn 3, and he's out to about a 3.6 to 3.7 second lead. Oh, jeez. I was trying to read your question in the chat. I think the car's okay. Yeah, I mean, NASCAR Heat 5 is good. I have done a lot of NASCAR Heat 5 content on the channel. I really can't wait to get to NASCAR 07 for our next gameplay, to be completely honest. That was probably the second game I played the most growing up NASCAR-wise. NASCAR 5 Chase for the Cup I probably played the most. That was my favorite, but NASCAR 07 on the PSP, I played a ton. I had it for this generation console too, but I played it more on the PSP. That was because it was available there, so I was able to play it on the go or whatever if I went to my grandparents' house. So. Kyle Busch closing. Both rear tires in the yellow on the tire wear indicator as he is lurking to the inside of Jamie McMurray, and he'll put McMurray a lap down. Yeah, it wasn't titled NASCAR 07, but it had the same cover as NASCAR 07 and came out the same year. For whatever reason, they didn't call it NASCAR 07, they just called it NASCAR. That was it. It was just NASCAR, PSP. I wish they had more PSP games growing up. I would have played them. That was the only one, though. Yeah, I played that all the way up until my PSP was no longer working. I had that thing for a long... I probably had that for like... I think I got it when I was in 2nd grade. And I played it all the way up until like my freshman or sophomore year of high school. It lasted me that long. Took great care of it. Then after a while, it just wasn't working properly. The memory chip kept wanting to pop out of it. I remember having to tape it shut. I probably played more games on that than anything. Quite a few cars cycling out of the pits. Kyle Busch trying to go as far as he can before pitting. I may have played Dirt to Daytona growing up, but I may not have. I really have no clue if I did or not. I probably didn't because I don't remember playing it. I've been watching WinVal's series on it, so I kind of get the gist of the career mode. I mean, honestly, it's similar to career mode in this game, or NASCAR 05. It's like a combination of the career mode between NASCAR 05 and NASCAR Thunder 2004 or 2003. Part is basically the same. It's like a hybrid between them both. And the NASCAR Heat Series. It's like a perfect combination of those because there's a little bit of dirt racing in it. I don't think I played it, honestly. I don't remember having it, so I don't think I've played it. Coming out of the pits right in front of Kyle Busch. Busch checking up and moving his car towards the outside. Oh, contact. That was an absurdly long fishtail. Especially for making contact at like 50 miles an hour. Maybe a little faster than that. Oh, and Aaron Crocker has just crashed in turn 8 as she blew the corner right into Kyle Busch. Our first caution of the race. She was trying to get back on the lead lap after pitting. And she had much fresher tires than Kyle Busch, had a massive closing rate. And after hitting the back bumper of Kyle Busch's race car, she ended up spinning out. And Kyle Busch involved in the accident, so he cannot pit for fuel or tires here. That is highly unfortunate. Does have a little bit of damage. Most of that was from Kenny Wallace just a couple laps into the race on the rear bumper. Specifically the right rear. No, I don't think the fuel tank's going to run out. It wasn't quite the dark red yet. It's going to trap quite a few people lap down. Not everybody, but obviously Crocker is going to get trapped a lap down. She had a good car. She led early, qualified on the pole. Bobby Labonte was in third before Crocker pitted. That makes sense. He was in the top 5 early on. So Busch is going to be in the lead on the restart, but he's going to have to pit here very shortly. His teammate Brian Vickers is a lap down also. Crocker gets into Busch on the restart now. Busch going to get another lap led in at the start-finish line this time, and then he'll pit the following lap at lap 61, because before the caution he was pacing to make it to about lap 61, 62. Restarting at lap 60 right now. 3 wide goes Clint Boyer down towards the bottom, trying to pick up some positions. This has put Kyle Busch behind after our first caution of the race. Busch will be pitting this time. Vickers was the first of the lap cars. Still holding on to the lead lap, of course, on fresher tires than Kyle Busch. Busch slides big time through turns 1 and 2. All 4 tires in the yellow on the tire wear indicator right now for Busch. He'll gladly take 4 fresh tires this time around. Gets to the inside of Brian Vickers. And he will be clear of Brian Vickers into turns 4 and 5. But Busch will be coming into the pits this time now. Hauling the mail into the pits. Got to get down to pit road speed. Almost spun out. I locked the tires up and about lost control. Oh, man. I don't think he sped. 4 tires and fuel. And no adjustments under the first stop of the day for Busch. Just hoping he can get back out there before the leaders. But this is a very long pit road. Fast stop, though, 15.8 seconds. Even with the slight bit of damage that they tried to repair. Most of that was repaired, though, during that caution. So Kyle Busch will remain on the lead lap. And there are very few cars that are actually on the lead lap right now, if you count Brian Vickers. We only have 6 cars on the lead lap right now at Old Spice Speedway with that caution in the middle of green flag pit stops. Aaron Crocker had spun in turn 8. It was the first caution of the day, so even though Busch is quite a ways off the lead, he's still in 5th. And the good news is he had a fast enough pit stop and obviously pitted from the lead as well on a road course, so typically you're going to stay on the lead lap. So all he really needs is one more caution. He's right back up with the leaders. With the fact that there's few cars on the lead lap. And he's got a fast enough car. He should be able to catch up eventually. It seems like a lot of the cars that are still in the lead lap aren't as fast as Kyle Busch. So it may work out for him. Yeah, I'm not worried about it. We have a long race to go, too, so just continue to run a good race, as Kyle Busch has done many times already this season. Still have 2/3 of the way to go yet. Got a fast race car, should get back into this. Yeah, and exactly. We have fresher tires, clean air again. No traffic to worry about now. It's going to be a while before Kyle Busch is going to have to pass another car. A little bit wide into the grass. Right off the exit of turn 2. You can see that interval really dropping on the right side of the screen. It was almost 39 seconds back, and already in just 3 laps, he's cut that gap down to 37, almost 37 and a half. We'll alternate through the different camera angles for the first time in the race today when we get back to the start-finish line. Still 2 more pit stops left in this one. Long ways to go for Kyle Busch. He's in 5th, but he's quite a ways off the lead. Being involved in that first caution of the day, even though it wasn't his fault. Still involved in the yellow. Aaron Crocker had overran the corner. Busch was on older tires, not really even trying to block. Crocker just blew the corner. Very similar to Kenny Wallace in the early going, only Crocker lost control. Kenny Wallace in the early going didn't and held on to his position as well. Well, lost a spot, but ended up getting it back pretty quickly anyway when Bobby Labonte got around both him and Busch. 135 car has led every lap since Busch had to make his pit stop at lap 61 as well. So an easy 3-stop race for Kyle Busch today. He's going to take this fuel run as far as he possibly can. Which is going to be till just after lap 120. He'll end up hitting pit road for the second time. And honestly, as long as he's within close proximity to the lead, or if not already in the lead, it's probably going to be pretty wise for him to end up pitting. I have to imagine it's going to be pretty wise for him to end up pitting again in that final run much earlier. .46.909 that last lap for Busch. It's a quick one. You can see on the track map on the upper right-hand corner of the screen, there are a few lap cars that are in front of the 135 other than Kyle Busch as well, so there are more cars getting back on the lead lap on this restart. And those guys that just got back on the lead lap definitely hoping for a caution to bunch the field back together at some point. And hopefully not too late in the race. That way they have more time to try to gain that track position back. Have to imagine that's a lot of the faster cars from the very start of the race. Just locking those front tires up again. Second straight lap. He's done that in turn 8. 46.644 that last lap. .70 laps complete at the line. Got 15 people watching right now. 13 likes on the stream. Be sure to hit that like button. Subscribe for more daily NASCAR content if you haven't already. Got some Throwback Thursday streams where we watch some old NASCAR races every Thursday. We just watched the 2008 Daytona 500 on last night's stream. 2 nights ago stream, excuse me. Next week you'll get the vote as well. We'll be watching Daytona 500s through the offseason. Then when the season starts, whatever track NASCAR's racing at that week, we'll watch an old race from that said track. Or an area track if it's a newer track on the schedule. Reaction videos coming back every Monday, and of course the live race commentary streams for the real races on the NASCAR race weekend will include the truck and Xfinity races along with the Cup, not just the Cup next year, for Friday, Saturday, and Sundays. A couple Thursdays here and there as well. Of course, for the tracks I don't go to in person, the tracks I do go to in person, we have some race highlights from the grandstand, so we'll be doing that again next year as well. Kyle Busch has trimmed that lead down just less than 30 seconds back. And his fastest lap of the race was just ran as well, 46.513. Didn't lock the tires up at turn 8 that time. It's the first time he's had this fresh of tires with clean air today, because remember, he took about 8 to 9 laps before he got to the lead at the start. Let's get by Crocker, who qualified on the pole. Eric Crocker's had some really fast cars in recent races as well, and another fast car tonight. Just not a good start. So again, we do have a doubleheader on the channel tomorrow afternoon. We'll start things off at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So a little later start time, not noon tomorrow, but not quite as late as the weeknight stream. So 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow, we'll be doing a Busch Series doubleheader. 2 full races, so 2 100% races for the Busch Series tomorrow on the channel, races 18 and 19. And then we'll go back to the Cup Series custom schedule season on Monday night, where we go to Daytona for a 400-mile night race. Trying to get my first ever win at Daytona in the Cup Series on a NASCAR EA Sports game on the channel. We are 0 for 14. That's our 15th attempt coming up this weekend, and we'll see if number 15 will be the one to finally get us to victory lane. We had a little bit of practice yesterday and had a fast car. Not the fastest car, but I had a fast car. And I hope Greg Biffle could maybe have a similar type of fast car. A racing game for... Are you talking like a racing game outside of NASCAR? So I did answer it. I said NASCAR 07 just because I had played that a lot growing up. Kyle Busch about to get into lap traffic. A couple cars not too far in front of him. Busch down to the apron. Yeah, that's when I was talking about NASCAR 07. That was kind of my answer to the question. .47498 that last lap for Busch. It's getting closer to what Kyle Busch ran for his fastest lap. Actually, never mind. That was a 47, not a 46. It's probably because he's in lap traffic now, and he did have to pass a few cars on that lap. And we'll continue to pass more. Including 2 more through turn 3 alone. Brandon Martinez, welcome into the stream. Busch slid a little bit wide. Luckily, the 103 car did not have contact. Busch goes out near the grass, in fact, clipped it off of turn 8. That's how far wide he ended up going. 103 car down on the bottom of the racetrack. And he was able to get by Busch through 1 and 2. Busch should get him back, though. And does. Kyle's still in 5th. Every car he's passed so far at the back of the pack is on the lead lap. Or, sorry, is a lap down, rather. He's still 26.4 seconds off the lead. A lot less traffic where the leader is. That 135 car. Busch making a pass on the 149. 152 car goes a bit wide in turn 2 and ended up making contact with Busch. Not going to know exactly who that first car for position will be for Busch to pass since pitting until he has to pass him. I mean, I have played NASCAR Thunder 02 before. That was the first ever NASCAR game I can remember playing. When I was younger, I just don't have it anymore at the time. I just scraped that inside wall in turn 3. I've done that 3 times now, and now we have a caution. Oh, we got big trouble not too far in front of Kyle Busch. Had to get on the brakes there at the last second, going into a cloud of smoke. A couple cars got together, and one car backs it into the wall off of turn number 6, it looked like. Oh, wow, it was somebody was already slow. It gets driven hard into the back of, and that car ended up going spinning into the wall. So, caution is out once again. Kyle Busch going to stay out of the pits here. And I believe everybody else will also. So, it's going to get Kyle Busch some of that track position back. He'll be restarting in 5th, but now he's up there with the leaders. Green flag back in the air at Old Spice Speedway. Oh, Busch spun the tires on the restart, and that sent him wide. Lost a couple spots, now he's back to 7th. Tony Raines behind him. Busch going 3 wide down onto the apron. And those 2 spots he lost initially, he'll get back as he's in 5th. Glad I didn't end up being in that wreck. That would have stunk. Kyle Busch gaining a ton of spots on the inside. Most of them lap cars. Bobby Labonte isn't a lap car. Neither was most recent car Busch just passed. Into turn 1 underneath Labonte, all clear. JJ Yaley, Bobby Labonte side by side, but Labonte going to pull back alongside Kyle Busch again, and Busch will be on the outside into turn 3. And Labonte holds on to 3rd place. He's putting up a fight right now. 135 continuously leading still at the front of the field. Labonte trying to block Busch. Labonte hard into turn 8, down on the bottom, underneath Aaron Crocker. Crocker still a lap down. Likely has quite a bit of damage from that first wreck. Crocker still on the outside of Busch. Busch has not cleared her yet. We're trying to stay alongside to hopefully make the pass in turn 3. Kyle Busch will get by Crocker. Not quite going to stay alongside Bobby Labonte, I don't believe. Well, maybe he is. Labonte not going down to block. And Kyle Busch will take over 3rd. And a deep dive for Kyle Busch. Under John Hamilton, who's a lap down, now underneath the 113 car. Busch side drafting him, and the 113 is on the lead lap, so Kyle Busch will be up to 2nd now. Oh, contact with Kenny Wallace. He gets sent. Caution's out. Kyle Busch accidentally turned Kenny Wallace in turn 2, and Wallace goes hard into the guardrail on the outside. He just came to a dead stop nearly. Ouch. That's a big lick. And that will be our 3rd caution of the race. And Kyle Busch will have to pit without fuel or tires again, unfortunately. Hoping the rest of the field stays out here, so at least the pit cycling will be the same. Oh, man, they're going to pit again. So Kyle Busch looks like he's going to be right back in the same position he was before after the first caution. Same thing here with caution number 3. After the second yellow got him back in, just a little too aggressive, trying to get by the lap car of Kenny Wallace, and unfortunately turned him. So Busch will be the leader on the restart, assuming everybody else pitted behind the top 2. And Busch can't take fuel or tires or make any adjustments, causing the accident there or being involved in the accident. Bobby Labonte pitting right in front of him. Oh my gosh, JJ Yaley about got turned into his pit box. He just sent it in there as Busch was coming out of his box. Yaley going into his. Got a couple cars staying out. Yeah, I noticed there were a couple cars that actually did stay out of the pits. But none of them were on the lead lap, so Busch will be the leader anyway. Green flag back in the air. Kyle Busch does not spin the tires this time around. And we're down to 109 to go. Busch trying to get to the inside as quickly as he can. Still 2 stops away yet for Busch to make it to the end. Little contact with the lap car right in front of him. Same corner, Kenny Wallace got turned, and Bobby Labonte's going for the lead. But Busch battles back and holds on. Labonte trying to block the lap car. He's all clear now and all over the back bumper of Kyle Busch. Now remember, Busch has older tires right now by about just under 30 laps. Almost a half a run, but Labonte goes a bit wide in turn 8. The lap car is going to get back around him, so that might buy Busch a little bit more time. Kyle can go almost 30 more laps on fuel yet. Maybe even a little longer than that with all the cautions that have come out. 2 of them at least during this current fuel run for the 5 team. But he is definitely going to want another caution to come out before the end of this race because he needs 2 stops to make it to the end. Everybody else, they can make it on 1. Alternate through the different camera angles once again. About half a dozen laps or so. Busch kind of overdrove turn 1. He clipped the guardrail on the inside. A brief moment. A lot better in turn 3 though. Good news is he has clean air, and we saw from Eric Crocker earlier, even though she didn't have the fastest car at that point in the race, clean air allowed her to hold on to the lead, and that's helping for Kyle Busch right now despite being on almost 30 lap older tires. Derek Booth, welcome into the stream. Slowly pulling away from the 19 car. So Labonte did not give 5 bonus points because he took the lead for about a corner and that was it. And it was in the middle of the lap. It wasn't like it was in turn 8 coming to the start-finish line. So Bobby Labonte still awaiting that first lap lead. He is running full-time in the Busch Series despite being a Cup regular as well, just like Kyle Busch and Brian Vickers. And that is why he is in the top 10 in points still. Just like the 57 and the 5. Not quite as high up in the running order. He's still searching for his first Busch win of the season. Where both Vickers and Kyle Busch have gone to victory lane already. Busch 6 times, Vickers 1. 46.685 that last lap for Kyle Busch. Almost halfway home. We'll be there in a few laps. Got a car on pit road that is blown up, it appears. Actually, no, never mind. I think it's a scheduled pit stop. There were a couple lap cars that stayed out of the pits during that last caution, so maybe that is the case. I mean, I guess it could be somebody who just blew an engine. I guess we'll find out in about another lap or two if they're still on pit road or not. If they are, then that would be an engine failure. Saw Michael Jourdain Jr. come out after an early engine failure yesterday, finished 25 laps down. He was definitely a factor at the end of the race. A couple different times, including causing the last accident with about 5 to go. A much different circumstance, though, here versus on a super speedway. Road courses still have blind corners, though, so it might be the second worst kind of track to have a slow car outside of a super speedway. Caution is out for the third time. That's really what Kyle Busch needed. He's going to pit here. It's like debris off the car that actually caused the second caution, not the third yellow. It was the one, I can't tell what number that is. Is that 121? It was the car that slammed into the back of the slow car that was on the inside of the racetrack. That caused the wreck in turn 6 and then backed it into the wall. But he's got some damage, obviously, to the front of his car. So Kyle Busch gonna pit from the lead. This means he can make it on just one more stop after this. So that's a big-time caution for Kyle Busch, his 4th one of the day. He can top off on fuel, take 4 fresh tires. He's gonna put himself back in traffic, but as long as he keeps it clean on the restart, he'll still be on somewhat similar strategy as the rest of the field. He can go a little bit further on fuel than them, but it's still a one-stop race now for everybody today, including Kyle Busch. So it's kind of the second big break Busch has had with the caution today. This one maybe not as big as the first one, but still big nonetheless. I should have the Mr. Clean Crew unlocked for the Busch Series races after tonight. So expect the Mr. Clean Crew for both races of the doubleheader tomorrow evening. See how far back Kyle Busch will restart and how many more cars are on the lead lap now. We'll know exactly how many cars are on the lead lap, which isn't many because there are not too many cars ahead of Kyle Busch. Wonder if that car that blew an engine was on the lead lap or not. Green flag going to be back in the air. Busch spun his tires on the restart again. Busch in 7th. Doesn't want to run over anybody on the restart this time. And Eric Crocker about ran over him. It's the second time Crocker's gotten into the back of Kyle Busch today. That one might have been more of a racing deal because it did seem like Busch might have crowded her just a bit. She did make a late dive again, but wasn't as egregious as the first time it happened. Bobby Labonte leads on the restart for the first time today. We're just past halfway. 3 cautions was my prediction that we would at least have that many. That is the case. We've had 4 in about half the race so far. Kyle Busch gonna get a spot. Almost. And now he's got it. All clear. Now Busch has about 10 lap fresher tires than the rest of the field. Oh, he gets into Jourdain. Jourdain's gonna go around. No caution there, even though he got into the wall. Busch sent it 3 wide into turn 8. Jourdain ended up clipping the car who was on his outside as the 10 car was in the middle. It looked like he got turned into the wall off the front bumper of the car on the 3rd lane, but no caution. We stayed green, which is good for Busch. Trouble's trying to get through the pack cleanly in these types of situations today. He knows he has a fast car, he's just got to take his time. And that was not exactly what I wanted to do there either. Busch locking the tires up in turn 2. That's about as close to the wall without hitting it as he has been in turn 3 all day. He was a few car lengths behind Trigger, and he pulled alongside of him in the middle of the corner. Couldn't quite beat it back to the gas, so he's going to be in line just behind him still to the next set of couple corners. Kyle Busch down low underneath Luke Trigger, and we've got a caution once again. And it looks like right around turn 6 or 7. Yet another yellow today, and it's going to be the 123 again. So not the 121, it's the 123. It's the second debris caution from him, and again, that's from that second caution that had nothing to do with Kyle Busch earlier in the race, so alright. Our 5th caution of the race is out. Still outside the fuel window to make it to the end from here, so I'd imagine the field will stay out. We'll get yet another race restart middle of the day. Keegan is a modern intimidator. I'm not intentionally rattling their cages, though. It's overdriving the corner. It's more of a Ross Chastain situation. My gosh. I cannot get these restarts. My car spins in the middle of the corner. Busch going to be on the outside as he falls back a couple spots to 7th again. $90 to go this time by. Bobby Labonte holding on to the lead at the front of the field. Raymond Toohey, thanks for tuning in. Three wide and a clean pass that time for Kyle Busch. Up to 5th. A little bit of a block on Tony Raines on the outside. Heading towards turn 1. Another spot gain for Busch. And another lap car in his rearview mirror as well. Clint Boyer stayed inside the top 3. Brian Vickers has made his way up inside the top 3 for the first time as well. I think he's the 2nd place car. Kyle Busch to 3rd. Kenny Wallace closes, but he's going to go wide. Couple times. Kenny's in the wall. Off of turn 2, all on his own. Overdrove the corner trying to get back with Kyle Busch. Busch gets by the lap car of John Hamilton through turn 3. And is right behind his teammate Brian Vickers. Top 2 in points now, running 2nd and 3rd. Busch going to try to make a pass on his teammate into turn 8. Not going to really be able to do so. Vickers slid up a little wide off the exit of the corner. Busch saw that, trying to attack and trying to side draft the 57. We'll race him clean here, but Busch is clear. Again, slightly fresher tires for Kyle Busch. On top of the fact that he's had the fastest car in the field today. And he has now ran down Bobby Labonte, looking for the lead for the 3rd different time. A little less than 90 to go. Oh, contact. Busch going to let Labonte go there. He wants to try to pass him clean. Made the contact going into turn 8, and he let him go off the exit of the corner. Hear him feathering the throttle quite a bit. Oh my gosh, just overdrove turn 2. And now Vickers is going to get back by. And Boyer gets by his last lap car in 4th. Couple of mistakes over the last lap or so for Kyle Busch. Second off the lead now, trying to get back by Vickers again. Locking the tires up. Clears Brian Vickers. And trying to run down Bobby Labonte. Kyle Busch has closed on Bobby Labonte. He's all over his back bumper, across the bridge towards turn 1. As they battle for the lead. Big block by the 19, the 5 going low. And Busch is going to come off of turn 3 with the lead. What's your favorite Kyle Busch car? I mean, it's pretty much the same paint scheme Jimmy Johnson had. Just with the classic 5 number font for Hendrick Motorsports. Kind of right back to where we were early in this race now with Kyle Busch leading, slowly pulling away. Looking for another calm start. Remember, we went about 57 laps before our first caution in this race today, and then we've had 5 of them between lap 57 and about lap 107, so they're stacking up upon each other quite a bit. Now we're almost 10 laps into this green flag run. We'll see if we'll have another long green flag run in this one. No Torres, thanks for tuning in. Kyle Busch trying to drop his average finish below a 3.5. In order to do that, he's going to need at least a 3rd place finish tonight. So far, so good. Legitimate video game numbers so far for Kyle Busch in this Busch Series season. And this is the 17th race of the year. It's not just the start of the season anymore. It is to start the season, but we're going to be past halfway. We're going to only have 16 races left after tonight's race of the original 33. If we're on pace to clinching this race, you know, as of right now, about 4 or 5 races early, it feels at this point we might only have about 10 races left on this Busch Series schedule all of a sudden. It's closing quick. $80 laps left at the start-finish line this time by. Fastest lap Busch has ran all day, 46.258 at the start-finish line that last time as well, as he's pulled out to almost a 2.5-second lead after the restart and taking the lead moments ago from Bobby Labonte. Yeah, as of right now, plans are to go to the Daytona 500 next year. I've not purchased my ticket yet, but I'm more than likely going. I know, assuming I do go, I will be there for the whole week again, like I was last year. Or at least in Daytona Beach it for the race week. I mean, I'll be on vacation for a full week, but plan on being in Daytona for about 4 or 5 nights. The other couple I'll be driving. Probably a 16-hour drive. 15 and a half, 16-hour drive. I'll have a modified work schedule by that time compared to what I have now and have had since I started working at the warehouse I'm working at right now. Knowing I'm going to have Friday, Saturday, Sundays off anyway, so timing it out right, because I'll have 2 weeks of vacation next year because I'm still a full-time associate for 2 years at the time. So I'll have 2 weeks of vacation next year. I think what I'm going to plan on doing is I'm going to use a week, and that week I use it is going to be the last week I'm going to have on the current schedule I've had, you know, ever since you guys know with this channel. But that way it'll give me plenty of time that when I come back I'll have a few days off, and then we'll get into the live commentary coverage then after that. Unless I end up going to Auto Club again, and the only reason that's possible is because Inside Uranus has won the regular season and playoff championship for the Fantasy League, so he gets to pick 2 races to go to, or, you know, extra tickets to 1 race. And he went to Auto Club last year, so, I mean, he may end up doing that again, and that's the 2nd race of the season again, so I might end up, that would be another good reason for me to use vacation that whole week. Come back relax, because last year, that was kind of a pain. I got back home from Daytona on a Tuesday and ended up having to fly out on Friday to go to Auto Club. But I still worked during the week. I worked on that Wednesday, and then I was off Thursday. But I came back Tuesday night got back home Tuesday night from Daytona and had to work again that next morning. So that was pretty tough. And then on the flight out to California, it was a busy week, to say the least. Is Smyrna for the modifieds? Probably not. I don't think I'll get there early enough for that. Like last year, I didn't get to Daytona until like 2 hours before the dual races started. That Thursday night. So I didn't leave my house until Wednesday. And that was because I was working early in the week, so I'm probably going to end up working that way. So that way when I take the full week off, I'll have the back half. Because if I don't do that, then I'm going to take the week off, you know, early. And then just like, I can maybe leave earlier, but then still when I get back, I'm going to have to work again before potentially having to leave the next weekend again. So I'll just have to see how that'll go. I'll know more in detail when we get closer to the date. Still a couple months out yet. About 2 months out. I like how it auto-corrected to Seminar Beach. Three-second lead for Kyle Busch. For running 46-second lap times at the clean air. And he's got almost 25 laps on his tires at this point in the run. Creeping up closer to the halfway point. Fuel window will open to the end of the race with about 60 laps to go. Busch doesn't plan on pitting right when the window opens. I'm sure some drivers will. He'll take it a little bit further than that, just because he did pit a little bit after the rest of the field. Then he wants to make sure he's going to have grip to the end, because the very first run of the race was the only time he actually went all the way through a tire stint, and he had a hard time trying to keep his car under control towards the end of that run, so he doesn't want to have to deal with that again, especially if we get some late race cautions. I'm hoping. It was a heartbreak last year being there in person to see him come that close. He came so close to winning so many races I went to last year. The Daytona 500, Talladega in the fall, he finished second by a nose. That was a heartbreaker too. Finished second at Phoenix. He may have had the faster car than Logano, but kind of just played the team role in line behind him, or at least didn't battle him for it, so that kind of stunk too. So close. Kind of reminds me of how close he was to winning a race when I'd gone in person before I actually got to see him win in person finally at Michigan in 2021. He always runs good. It's a matter of not getting the win all but once. I'll tell you someone who's had a lot of good luck when I've seen in person over the last 2 seasons, especially AJ Allmendinger. He wins almost every time I go to an Xfinity race, and I even saw him win at Indy in the Cup Series in 2021 also. He wins a lot. If he's racing when I'm there, he wins a lot. It's crazy. Saw him win in Mid-Ohio too, just randomly. Xfinity Series standalone event. He wins that one. Won a couple Xfinity races I went to this year too, including Talladega towards the end of the year. I wouldn't be shocked if he wins a Cup race I go to next season, considering the luck with him. I'm not sure if I'm going to any road courses off the top of my head. I mean, I might go out to Sonoma. Well, yeah, I am going to COTA next year. Yeah, watch him win COTA or something. COTA's the only definitive road course I know I'm going to next year. I'm not sure about any others. I may go to Sonoma. I haven't been out there yet either. And I believe those are the only 2. Well, technically I'll be going to the Chicago street course race also. I mean, technically it's a road course, I guess. I mean, technically it's a street course, but street course, road course, not oval. It's only 4 hours from where I live, so I feel like I have to go. It's that close. It's going to be a marquee event just because it's the first time NASCAR's ever ran on a street course, so I'll definitely be there for that. .69 laps to go at the start-finish line, this time by for Kyle Busch. Lead fluctuating between 2.5 to 3 seconds right now at this point in the race and in the run. Tires are probably pretty evened out with the rest of the field as far as the wear itself goes, but Busch can still go a little further on fuel if he so chooses, which is likely going to be the case. He might not take it all the way to the run. Honestly, I'm just going to take it until the car gets super, super loose, because the window's going to open up in 9 laps for Busch to make it to the end. And we'll just keep going past that until our car starts to become a little more unstable, and then we'll pit. Yeah, I saw that earlier. TCU lost. Wasn't it in overtime too? I didn't really watch that game. I was actually watching Toledo because they're so local to where I live. They were playing in the MAC championship at the same time. They ended up winning. I was watching that at noon when I was on lunch at my last break at 2:30. I watched total probably about 1/4 of the game. Most of the first quarter and entire second half of the third. Kyle Busch is closing up on a huge pack of cars. And that's why there's somebody who has blown an engine Busch is going to just fly by everybody. It's Shane Meal in the 32 who blew an engine holding everybody up. Well, that's just lapped a few more cars. I think Meal was able to get to pit road as we continue to stay green. We're still outside the fuel window. So if we saw a caution right now, I don't think anybody would pit. There are so many cars that went a lap down because of that. I mean, that was probably a dozen cars, if not more. A lot of three-wide action going on at a slow pace. A couple more scragglers who just got through it right before Busch was able to get there right in front of Kyle right now. I was at Watkins Glen in 2019. That was before I had the YouTube channel. That's definitely a road course I'd like to go back to a second time, though. If I had to pick just one to go back to again or more often, Watkins Glen would be the one. Plus, it's also closer where I live than any of the other road courses, if I don't count Chicago for the street course. Also not counting Indy for the road course as well, just because that's about 4 hours, but I've already stated on the channel I don't really plan on going back to the Indy road course. If they go back to the Oval, I'll go to the Brickyard 400 for sure, but maybe the year after that they will, who knows. Maybe they'll run both in the same weekend, who knows. $65 to go. By the way, that lead ended up growing down to almost 7 seconds for Busch. That tells me that Bobby Labonte got held up by Shane Meal and that giant pack of cars, and now Bonnie probably in the middle, if not at the tail end of that pack as well. So his pace may continue to slow versus Busch, who was pulling away with not a whole lot of traffic around him. He just passed one car. He's got another one right in front of him. A little bit of a gap before the next car, then an even bigger gap before he gets to the next pack of cars. Busch has been halfway out in fuel for a little bit now. But again, still an easy one-stop race. Unless we get a caution at a weird spot similar to what we saw at Phoenix in the Cup Series last week. I should say earlier this week. I believe that was on Monday. Now, if that happens, then we might be in some trouble. Hard enough to do that once and make it work. I think it'd be even harder on a road course. We're lucky we were on a short track. Probably the easiest track to try to save fuel considering it's super short as it is. So depending on how many laps short I am, it's only a couple. It's just a couple miles we have to save rather than if it was a mile and a half or bigger. Or even a road course, if we're a couple half short, we're having to save a handful of miles. Didn't see anybody pit that time by. Definitely know that there's going to be some cars pitting as soon as that window opens. With a run under the 103. Not quite going to stay alongside of him, though. Over an 8-second lead now for Kyle. Jack those tires up just a little bit. Clears the 103 with a clean pass. Makes sure of it as he pulls up with a block. .103. Trying to battle back on Busch. Busch pull loose, trying to pick up the throttle. And the 103 car will remain on the, well, not the lead lap, I guess, because there is already a lot of cars a lap down, but it'll remain one lap down. Giving Kyle Busch a little bit of a fight. Busch going to back up turn 8, try to beat him back to the throttle. Not quite going to work there either. Blub, thanks for tuning in. 60 to go for Kyle Busch. Field window is open now to the end of the race for anybody who wants to pit. Jeez. Busch wants to refrain from pitting until at least 50 to go. Even if his car starts to get a little bit loose before that. Remember, there's only 4 sets of tires left. He's only pitted for tires twice. Actually, everybody's only pitted for tires twice, so knowing he has to pit one more, he'll still have one more set left to the end of this race if he needs it. And already Kyle Busch has locked up the most laps led and still have over a quarter of the race to go. So he has led quite a few laps today and has a chance to eclipse 1,000 laps led this season in today's race. We'll have to see if he can actually get it done. Push again to the inside of the 103. Knowing the field window's open to the end of the race now, last thing Kyle Busch wants to do is get in a wreck or cause a wreck, because he will not be able to pit for fuel or tires. So needs to keep it clean. He just made contact with the 103 car again, but luckily keeps it clean after the fact. Nothing major there anyway. And more clean air in front of Busch, at least for the short term. Brian Vickers will pit this time by in the 57, so Busch's teammate is in a little earlier than Busch himself. These guys can't quite go as far on fuel either. Pitting more recently, or I should say, Busch has pitted more recently than them. Kyle pitted under the most recent caution. Yeah, I'd like to go to New Hampshire. I'm really hoping the Red Sox played that weekend because I'd love to go to Fenway on the way up there. Because I'd have to drive through Boston, and I've never been to Boston before. Or that far into the Northeast in general where New Hampshire's at. So I would definitely want to make an extra stop if I can. Even if the Tigers aren't playing. That's like one, that regularly would be the only two fields I would go to see a game if I was traveling without actually seeing the Tigers play. Quite a few cars on pit road right now. A lot of the pack of cars that was in front of Busch has pitted, so that's less cars he's going to have to pass on track. Car trying to get up to speed right in front of Jamie McMurray. It's the 103. Kyle Busch going to be able to get by that 103 car. The 103 car put up a little bit of a fight on Kyle Busch the last time they were near each other, and now that car's on fresher tires. We'll see if he can get back around the 5 at some point before Busch has to pit for the final time. Now, Kyle Busch has a 1-lap lead, so everybody who was on the lead lap has already pit. Big time power slides from Busch. He's had that every now and then today. 110 car going to pit from right in front of Kyle Busch. Caution came out. Kyle Busch would then be the only car in the lead lap on the restart. That'd certify his way to victory. He's going to be losing a little bit of time, though, for right now while he's on older tires than everybody else and still in traffic as well. But he had a big enough lead. I still think he's going to have the lead by the time he cycles off. And then he'll have slightly fresher tires, so he'll be able to grow that lead right back out again. Not worried about it at all. Quarter tank of gas left. Another slight wall scrape. $50 to go this time by. Be 3/4 of the way home. The car on his way into the pits. Kyle Busch has definitely done a lot better job conserving his tires during this run. Because he's not as loose as what he was that very first run of the race. And I think a lot of that's just getting more repetition, with, especially with how many laps we've ran today already on this road course. He's just becoming more and more perfect every time he makes a lap. Left rear starting to go away just a little bit finally at this point in the run. And now the right rear as well. So maybe now it's going to be time for the car to start swaying in the wrong direction as far as the handling. Every lap he goes, the less likely he's going to have this issue at the end of the race. So we'll try to keep the car out on the track. Up in the grass, getting by the 64 of Jamie Mack. A couple more cars coming out of the pits just up ahead. Busch going to get by the 117. Kyle Busch has to make sure he doesn't get ran over like he did earlier by Aaron Crocker as well. Crocker had a fast car at the time to even keep up with Busch in the first place. all the cars he's around right now, he's been way faster than throughout this race anyway. So I don't think it'll be as big of a deal. Push to the inside of the 119. Final time will alternate through camera angles in today's race. We're down to just 48 laps to go. And the last restart was at lap 103. So this is a 50-lap green flag run, our second longest green flag run of the race. Big lockup of the tires getting into turn 8 that time. Oh, Busch clipped the grass a little bit, and that kind of knocked him sideways. Grabbed and pulled his car down to the left. Definitely starting to lose a little bit more traction. Mark, we were talking about you playing guitar on ice earlier in the stream. We got Kyle Busch racing on ice. Eighth of a tank of fuel left. At this point in the run for Busch. Again, no big deal for himself. Kyle pushes underneath the 110. All clear. Oh, jeez. Was not clear of that car. Crew chief now calling Kyle Busch clear. A little late. Slight contact. Nothing much. Locked up the right front, and now the right front's in the yellow on the tire wear indicator. Yikes. Saw the point of that guardrail and I thought it was headed right for it. Car's a bit slippery. Earl Arnold Jr., welcome into the stream. Still one more stop. Got a 1 lap lead on the field, but that's because Kyle Busch is the last lead lap car that has to pit. So some drivers will be getting back on the lead lap after that. A little better car control off turn 2 that time for Busch. It's like the 152 car is the next lapper in front of him yet. Busch gonna stay on the track at least one more lap. Good lap for the 5, though. It's cleanest lap, as of the last handful at least. As far as not letting those tires slip out too far from underneath him. And I spoke too early. Stay out again. Oh, you live in Nashville, Earl? Or are you just happening to visit at the same time? And about 60 laps on a full tank. This will be the 57th lap on this fuel run for Kyle Busch. He'll stay out again. We have 40 laps to go at the start-finish line. Going to be one of the shortest tire stints of the race for Busch. Once he does pit for the final run to make it to the checkered flag. He's doing well for himself. That was a bit of a mistake. Turn 2. Busch will go another. 39 laps left. A lot better through turns 1 and 2 that time. Oh. Maybe back into the gas a little bit too soon. 38 laps to go this time by, but Kyle Busch will pit this time by. It'll be a second green flag stop of the race. He did pit once under the caution. And it'll be the third pit stop total as he'll be on his way into the pits. He's going to try not to lock the tires up that time and risk spinning out. So there we go. 4 tires and fuel. He didn't spin out the first time, but got close to it. No adjustments, 4 tires and fuel for Kyle Busch, and he'll only have to go 38 laps on these tires. Busch stretching it all the way to the end of the run and was able to hold on to his car just enough to make it to the end of the run. Maybe could have won one more lap on fuel, but didn't want to push it. No need with the big lead. We'll see what that lead will be when he cycles off of the pits, but he'll have about a dozen lap fresher tires than the rest of the field who already pitted before him. 17.8 seconds, trying to buff out some of the scratches on the race car, specifically on the right side. And exiting the lengthy pit road back to the start-finish line now is Kyle Busch. It's going to be the run to the checker. Busch is still going to have the lead as he's going to get up to speed crossing the bridge. Get the 112 underneath him. He'll let that car through. Back in line he goes. It's like about a 13-second lead for Kyle Busch, maybe a little less than that. Still waiting on that interval to maybe drop down a bit further. Busch and the 112 side by side right now. 4, 5, and 6. Off 7. Busch on the bottom. And gets by. 12.8 second lead at the line. 37 to go for Kyle Busch. He has one more set of tires left. If he does end up pitting again, if it stays green to the end, he definitely will not pit. But a pretty good size lead. Busch needs this to stay green. Needs to not cause a wreck either that causes a caution and forces him to go to the tail end of the lead lap. Just got to be smart, as Kyle Busch has done most of the season. Last night he was having to push hard, just couldn't hold on to the race car at the end. Has fallen off today, he doesn't have to push hard. Completely opposite, he's not the one on the attack this time. Busch trying to get his first road course win of the season. The only other road course race we had was the 4th race of the season at Watkins Glen. In that race, Tony Stewart got the victory, and Kyle Busch finished 4th. Our second road course race out of 3. We still have one more trip back to Watkins Glen later in the season. If it's late enough in the year, if Busch clinches the championship early enough, we might not actually get to that race. Just have to wait and see. Yep. Go blue. Playing Purdue tonight. Kind of a home game, though, for Purdue. They're from Fort Wayne, Indiana, about an hour and a half or so away from, hour and a half to 2 hours away from Indy's. Michigan was, last I checked, they were 15.5-point favorites. They play anywhere close to how they did against Ohio State last week, will be A-OK. There's already been a couple upsets this weekend, though, so no game is a gimme. USC and TCU lost. I think even if Michigan loses, they'll be in the playoffs, especially with those other teams losing, because I think they're better than TCU, USC already. I mean, they were in the rankings anyway, so it'd be tough to fall all the way out, and pretty much impossible to fall all the way out at this point. I still like to keep them at number 2 because I think Georgia's the best team in the country, personally. I think they're going to be tough to beat. I think Michigan's the closest team to them, but I don't think they're to their caliber. So if we can not play them in the first round, better for us. And that's what happened last year. We got killed. We were a better team than last year, but still. We got the same khaki-wearing coach we did last year, so you never know. This has very much surpassed the longest green flag run of the race. 66 laps into the green flag run when we get to the start-finish line this time. Well over a full fuel run. And that is why we have cycled through green flag pit stops already. Again, everybody's going to be good on fuel at the end of the race. All pitted within about the last 56 laps or less. And go about 60 laps on a full tank. Kyle Busch just went 59 on the last run. Busch last pitted even much later than that. 38 to go is when Kyle Busch hit pit road. But we did have 5 cautions in this race, despite this being the longest green flag run. So it would not be a shock if we saw another yellow yet, especially with how long of a green flag run we've had so far. You guys probably know the drill by now that are familiar with this game on the channel. If we get a caution with 5 or less laps to go, could potentially end the race. We did have a green-white checker last night at Daytona, where it did not end the race. Sometimes it does end it, sometimes it doesn't. In fact, just a few races before that, at Las Vegas, the race ended under caution on a yellow with about 3 to go. Got Aaron Crocker her first win of the season. She's the most recent new winner. Probably still going to be at 8 different winners on the season after today's race. 30 to go. Rowdy Busch to try to get his 7th Busch win of the year in the first 17 races. We'll be just past halfway through the season after today. He's got a 3.5 average finish. Just clip the wall going into turn 1. I'm going to take care of this car. Yeah, I'll definitely be watching that Michigan game once the stream is over. I'll also be watching the Red Wings too. Playing the Vegas Golden Knights, one of the better teams in the league tonight. Flipping it back and forth on commercials. Michigan game's going to go much later. I started at 8. I think the Wings game started at 7. And usually hockey games are only about 2.5 hours or so. So that'll probably be done about halftime of the football game, really. Slowly counting these laps down. Kyle Busch has spun his tires on a lot of the restarts today. Not all of them, but most of them. And he has lost positions almost every restart, with that being said. So I would not doubt that if we get a late race restart in this one, that could be a way Kyle Busch could lose this race. He's got an 18-second lead. You wouldn't think that would be possible, but he has struggled on the restarts. It's just a product of having to get into the restart zone in the middle of turn 8, and that's why his tires keep spinning every time. And the one time he didn't spin his tires and he waited to get on the gas, he just got flat out passed. So, I mean, it's kind of a lose-lose situation there. Hopefully, if we do get a restart, it'll be with less than 10 to go, so maybe it'll be a little bit easier for Busch to try to hang on to the lead without the lap cars underneath him, and may help him in case he spins the tires. Maybe he can still stay in front of the pack at all costs. Still got to think big picture with the championship, even with the big points lead. He's definitely got some points to kill if something goes awry, but at the same time, too, don't want to play too much defense. You know you have a car. Somebody gets around you. As long as you have enough time to get back around them, I think he'll be all right. It'll be a little different if we only had a couple laps to go versus really anything more than 2 or 3 to go. I think he'll have plenty of time to get back up there if he loses a spot or two, but we saw how much the clean air has mattered in today's race. How hard it is to pass some of the cars a lot further up towards the front of the field versus a lot of the lappers have been for Busch. $25 to go. Didn't have a trivia question on tonight's channel. I couldn't really find one before the start of the stream, so I'll just ask you a random Kyle Busch opinionated question. What is your guys' favorite Kyle Busch moment? Obviously, he's been in the sport for a while. He'll no longer be in the 18, so kind of a somewhat, interesting question for you guys. But what is your favorite Kyle Busch moment? Trying to think of what my favorite moment would be of Kyle Busch while asking you guys that question. I'd probably lean broken leg title. That was pretty clutch. That was pretty cool to see for sure. That does have to rank pretty far up there. Greg Mahone, thanks for tuning in. Him getting wrecked by Dale Jr. at Richmond. Jeez. I was hoping for, like, maybe a funny Kyle Busch moment, or... I mean, it might have been funny for you, I guess. Oh, we got trouble. Looked like it was not too far ahead of Kyle Busch again, so late caution here with just over 20 to go. And that was a slow-moving wreck, if I've ever seen one before. Car that was blowing an engine in the 103 was just trying to get to the outside so he can get to pit road, and that caused a near stoppage on the track in turn 5, so that's going to be another caution. It was right around the 123 again, who caused one of the wrecks earlier. $200 win. Honestly, for me, it'd probably just be seeing him win the Dirt Bristol race this year, because that was one of the wildest finishes I've ever seen in person. So I'd probably put that on there, just for that reason alone. Green flag back in the air. Little bit better restart that time for Kyle Busch. Felt the car get a little bit light, but it wasn't as bad, and he does get to the bottom. A couple lap cars initially got by him. Still has lap cars getting around him as he'll get back down to the bottom. He's holding up the lead lap cars, though. That's the good thing. That is probably the best restart Kyle Busch has had today. And it comes with 19 laps to go as he continues to lead. Was that 6th caution the final one of the race? $18 to go. Busch has one more lap car to get back around. That would be the 22 of Kenny Wallace. Just has to be smart with it. Pass him cleanly and he'll be alright. And he does. Clean pass in turn 3. Busch has the clean air. Never lost the lead on that restart that time around. That 18-plus second lead is definitely gone. He will not have to worry about catching any more lap traffic the rest of the race in front of him. And he just ran his fastest lap of the entire race, a 46.2 flat. I think one of the best Kyle Busch moments to not have happen yet, if he does end up doing so, would probably be him winning the Daytona 500, because I feel like that's going to be definitely a statement win in his career, but maybe an emotional one for Busch himself, I'm sure. Really the one thing he has to do in the sport that he hasn't done yet. What, I think it's going to be a 17th attempt this year? Been at it for a while, just hasn't gotten it. 2005 would have been his first attempt. So this will be his 18th try, I think, this coming season. I know he ran part-time in 04. I don't think he ran the 500, though. $15 laps left for Kyle Busch. Already out to a 2.5-second lead once again. The 500. Daytona 500. He was a rookie in 2005. I'm pretty sure that was his first 500. Well, he didn't. Never mind. He missed. He didn't run the 2015 Daytona 500, so I think it'll be a 17th try this year. I was right the first time. I was right, but not because I did my math originally correct. He missed the 2015 500, so it'd be a 17th attempt this year. We were just talking about him winning the championship that year. He broke his leg. But I was waiting for somebody to try to troll Greg Mahone's comment and say, well, my favorite Kyle Busch moment was when Kyle Busch turned Dale Jr. in the spring Richmond race. Kenny Wallace still the next car behind Busch, even though he's not on the lead lap. Kyle Busch out to about a 3.2 to 3.3 second lead. Heading towards turn 8 this time. Yeah, ever since that initial year that, well, I wouldn't say that was the initial year Kyle Busch, Dale Jr. might have had the rivalry, but that was the initial year that Kyle Busch became the most hated driver in NASCAR. It was after that moment where he was unanimously the least favorite driver. And now we're at a time where he's so polarizing that he finished in the top 10 in the fan vote pick this year. Wouldn't have been thought of 10 years ago. Yeah, and he didn't even win the race either. He tried that move and he didn't even win. Boyer was the one that won it. Even though Busch still finished. Yeah, it was a little bonehead, for sure. You'd like to think if you're going to make a move like that, at least win the race. He couldn't do it. That only adds more insult into the wound. More salt into the wound, not insult into the wound. Insult to injury, that was the other expression. I kind of combined the two together, and that's what I came up with. On accident. Power slide into turn 1. Kyle Busch still hanging on to his car well enough. Tires aren't going to give out too much more. Still hasn't hit halfway on fuel at this point in the race. He should before the finish. Considering he's still going, even with the caution, 35 laps on these tires. And on the fuel run. Well, I'm assuming Brian Vickers is still having a good day. We didn't have too many cars on the lead lap. I think only 7 of them at one point earlier. So with Vickers being one of those cars on the lead lap, he should finish in the top 10. It's going to be close on whether or not he's got to be ahead of Boyer for second in the standings still. But Kyle Busch definitely going to get yet another max points day. And it's only his third race, though, that he has been able to lead the most laps and win. And only the fourth race total he's been able to lead the most laps this season in the first 17. So even though it's been a dominant season by consistency for Kyle Busch, it's not like he's going out here dominating every single race like he has today. He's gotten some wins here and there, but there's been a couple races this year where he has led probably 20 to 30 laps at the very most when getting some of these wins. And that's in like 200 lap, 250 lap races too. 100, 150. .6 seconds ahead, still 7 to go at the line this time by. We're just hoping he doesn't get another late race caution. Survived the first restart with about 19 to go. Ending the longest green flag run of the day at almost 70 laps. Actually, a little over 70. Busch would have came out lap 179. So it would have been a 76 lap green flag run. Beating the previous longest, which was 57 to start the race. Billy Carjoy, welcome into the stream. 6 to go for Kyle Busch this time by. No pressure tonight. Easy going for Busch. Just hoping we don't get back-to-back green-white checkers. We had a green-white checker at Nazareth, too, so actually it'd be 3 straight green-white checker finishes in the Busch Series if we had another one today. That green-white checker, we had 3 to go, but 3 to go and then 2 to go last night at Daytona. Guess the trends in the Busch Series is that we get super late cautions. Five laps to go for Rowdy Busch. And he'll head into the doubleheader tomorrow trying to maintain this hot streak of a season. It's going to be a lengthy stream tomorrow. 2 races, 1 stream, but they will not be 50% races. They will be 2 100% races. And if I'm not mistaken, they'll both be on mile and a half. So I believe we have Kansas and Charlotte on the schedule. So Kansas and Charlotte for our 2 races tomorrow. I believe the first race will be Kansas, and then Charlotte will be the second. And then we go to Homestead the night after, well, the next Busch race after that. Not the very next night, but the next Busch race. So we have 3 straight mile and a halves on the schedule coming up. 4 to go, lead down to 2.9 seconds. Was about 3.5. But still, even at this pace, Kyle Busch is going to win. The next car behind him is a lapper as well of Kenny Wallace still. No, I'm usually not good at Charlotte on this game, so Charlotte and Dover are probably my 2 worst intermediates. Well, Auto Club also. I'd probably throw Auto Club behind Charlotte and then Dover. Just because I have won a Busch race at Dover before. But I haven't at Charlotte as well as California. Still a 2.9 second lead. Pretty even the last lap and a half between Busch and the second place car. Kenny Wallace still closing in a little bit more on Busch. 2 laps to go at the start-finish line this time by. Busch just kind of really taking it easy here these last few laps. He's not trying to over-push the car. Kenny Wallace charging really hard into turn 8. Busch hanging on still. White flag in the air. 1 lap to go. Bowyer is not the second car in line behind Busch either. There's a car between Kenny Wallace and Clint Bowyer. Not sure if that would be a car for position or not. Busch not wanting to overcook the car in turn 3. Still has a 1.9 second lead. Smart race here today for Kyle Busch. Trouble in the middle going to a certain extent, but nothing major that caused Busch to be in any sort of harm of potentially losing this race for the long term, and he's still going to get the max points, stay leading the most laps and getting the win. Kyle Busch will be a winner at Old Spice Speedway. And on the dominant season, it's fitting that Kyle Busch has now won on a road course for the first time this year. Oscar Ramirez Herrero right at the end of the stream. Thanks for tuning in. First, we'll take a look at the official results as well as the updated point standings going into tomorrow's doubleheader on the channel. 1-2 finish today for Hendrick Motorsports as Brian Vickers was able to steal second away from Clint Bowyer late. Bowyer ends up third. Bobby Labonte led 17 laps, finishing fourth, and Irvin leads 28 laps, finishing in fifth. Erickson sixth. Kenny Wallace seventh. John Hamilton 8th, Aaron Crocker 9th. She led the first 7 laps from the pole today. And Luke Trigger rounds out the top 10. And we only had 6 drivers finish on the lead lap. Kenny Wallace was the first car lap down. 1.7 second margin of victory. 3 hours, 11 minutes total time of the race today. Pretty long for a Busch Series race. 6 cautions for 18 caution laps, 11 lead changes. 94.01 miles per hour average race speed. And Kyle Busch leads 148 of the 200 laps today en route to that max point day. But again, a 1-2 finish, though, for HMS. I don't know how many that is this season. It's like probably 3 or 4 if I had to probably guesstimate. Pretty good. The United Way 300 at Kansas will be the next race, and then the Dollar General 300 at Charlotte will be the race after that, Lowe's Motor Speedway. So 3 straight mile-and-a-half tracks, but 2 of them tomorrow for a doubleheader. Again, that will start at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. So 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. Tune in for that one. And we got Homestead next week, IRP next week, as well as Rockingham next week. Those are the next 5 races on our Busch Series schedule. Time to check out the point standings. So it's still going to be a 1-2 point standings order for Hendrick Motorsports, just like the race finish was today. Kyle Busch with a 461-point lead over Vickers now as he gains 20 points, with Vickers not leading the lap. Clint Bowyer loses another 5 behind Vickers, and he is now over 500 points out of first. And over 640 points back is Kenny Wallace in fourth. Shane Meals 6th, 7th. 10th place in points is Luke Trigger. He's 928 out of first. Brandon Miller's 1,100 back in 11th. He's ran every race, too. Yeah, it is insane what we have done with Kyle Busch this season. I was asked earlier in the stream, what am I running? This is Legend difficulty. Again, the other 2 series, it's tight points battles. And, in fact, in the Cup Series, we're 4th in the standings. We're not even leading. Much later into the season than this. We've ran 29 races there, only 18 here, but yeah, we're just dominating, and we'll try to dominate 2 more races again tomorrow. Be sure to hit that like button if you haven't already. Subscribe for more daily NASCAR content if you haven't already. 18 likes on the stream tonight. Thanks for everybody tuning in on this Saturday night. I'll see you guys tomorrow, and back better than ever. Again, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard start time. Double header. 2 full-length Busch races, same stream. Won't want to miss it.